DogWorks Radio is sponsored by Alaska Dog Works. Check out their website at alaskadogworks.com. From First Paw Media, sponsored by Alaska Dog Works Professional Canine Training Center in Anchorage, Alaska. This is DogWorks Radio, committed to families and their dogs to build lifelong and fulfilling relationships. Visit our website at dogworksradio.com. Now, here are your hosts, Robert and Michelle Forto.
Hello and welcome, everybody. This is Robert for DogWorks Radio, and today I am joined by Dr. Erica Boling. She is the owner of Northeast Canine Conditioning. Erica, how's it going today?
It's going great. Super excited to have you here talking with me and talking about canine fitness and dogs today.
I am looking forward to this. I know we reached out to each other over on Facebook. I think you and I are in a couple of groups together, but can you do us a favor and tell us a little bit about who you are and what you're all about, please?
Yes, I'm originally, my background was a professor at Rutgers University in academia and in education, but my passion was dogs. And I got started in sport and working dogs. My entry into kind of the working dog world was with search and rescue. I would say more than 15 years ago. And I was doing search and rescue with a Doberman who was not bred to do work. She was more from show sport lines. And as I got more and more involved, I realized I needed a dog with a bit more drive and a dog bred for the work. So I ended up getting involved in the Belgian Malinois, and I started training, doing some search and rescue, and I actually ended up getting involved in protection sports. And it was just my passion for dogs. On the side, I'm a very active person, did fitness training and personal training. And so I think it just was kind of naturally that I fell into the athleticism and just physically being active with my dogs. And basically what happened was my first Belgian Malinois Bachi, I ended up doing some protection sports with him, doing one called French Ring, and he ended up getting injured. He had a soft tissue injury. It's called an iliopsoas injury. I found out is not uncommon for a lot of these sport dogs. And it was it was a very subtle sign. He was a very high drive working dog. And there wasn't not really any real obvious lameness. He might go for one or two little steps. He might do a little limp, and then you would see nothing for weeks and weeks. And my gut just told me something wasn't right. I spent thousands of dollars. I went to multiple veterinarians. Of course, when I went to the vet, he never limped. They were like, everything looks fine. And it took me quite a while, and I ended up getting him diagnosed with a soft tissue injury. And we had just started our competition career. He had just done his very first trial. And we lost about 10 months to rehab him back, to get him ready, to work at full level. And in the rehab process, I realized there was so much that, I didn't know. Like, he had been giving all these subtle signs that I missed. I was training a lot for the sport, and I was not, he didn't have like a real well-rounded balanced fitness program. I was doing a lot of sport training in my sport. And I realized that there were a lot of things I could have been doing to better condition him it's a very, very physical sport. It's a high impact sport. And it got me involved in canine fitness to keep my own dogs healthy. And over the years, people would see me doing things to keep my dogs fit. And I would go to seminars and workshops as a participant, not actually giving them. And people would see me stretching my dog and warming up my dog. And they'd be like, "What are you doing? And can you show me?" And then it just kind of grew from there to doing, of course I was learning and studying all along the way, but then it led to seminars and workshops. And then a person couldn't come to an in-person seminar and said, "Oh, I'm so bummed I couldn't make it." And I said, "Well, you know what? I'll put some videos online for you." And that started into online programs. And my background in academia was also online teaching and learning. So for me, it seemed to be a natural way, to kind of fall into, well, you can't be there in person. I will do some videos and create some videos and do some online instruction. So it just grew from there and grew to online courses, an online academy, an online certification program. And it got to the point where my passion for the university just wasn't there, and my passion for the dogs was. And I ended up, after over 18 years at the university, I gave me my resignation, and I was like, I'm gonna do this online business and fitness full time, and stepped away from the university, and then dedicated full time to the Northeast Canine Conditioning. So it's been quite a journey, and it all started with that injury with my dog. You know, I was just devastated, you know, in tears. You know, we lost almost a whole year, but I owe like my amazing life now. I moved to Maine, and you know, have this very flexible lifestyle, you know, with the online stuff that I do, and was able to follow my passion with the fitness. But it all started with an injured dog.
That's how it is, isn't it? You know, I'm into dog mushing, and obviously our life revolves around dogs, and it sounds like on both sides of the coin here, on my side and on your side. It's interesting that you're in Maine. I know this is just a little bit off topic, Erica, but I just had another call on another podcast today with
Uh-huh.
another dog trainer in Maine. So I don't know what's going on up there in the Northeast,
Oh, wow.
but you guys are doing some great stuff up there.
It's amazing, you know, just an amazing place to live to do. I literally have almost like Acadia National Park, and like literally there's a trail, Beach Mountain. I mean, it's like 2 miles down the street, you know, 2.5 miles down the street, and there's one of the entrances to the trails. So there's just yeah, it's just an amazing place to be if you want to be active and be outdoors. And it's a very friendly, it's a very dog friendly place. There's a lot of national parks where they don't allow dogs, and they do allow dogs on leash. Some people forget that, but they are allowed in Acadia National Park. So it is a very dog friendly place. And I'm on an island, Mount Desert Island, and Bar Harbor. You know, it's a very touristy place, and they let dogs into, you know, a lot of the stores will let you come in with the dogs, and a lot of the restaurants and things like that. So it is a very, very dog friendly place.
It sure is. We were just there last summer, and we were in Bar Harbor. We were working with a service dog there. They live a little south of where you're at, and I stopped into the ice cream store and had the lobster ice cream of all things. My goodness, what a
Yes.
flavor! So
It's a bit
northeast,
unusual. Lobster ice cream. Yep.
yeah, northeast canine conditioning. That is a very cool thing, and I'm glad we're able to talk about it. It was interesting because I wanted to see how we could sort of help out our clients, in particular with your online offerings. I know that after COVID, a lot of people jumped on the online bandwagon, not only with pet training, but programs like this and all that. Can you first talk a little bit about that, about instructing people in the dog world online? I think a lot of pet owners in
Yeah.
particular really struggle with that. They think, "Oh, I need to meet with my trainer and it needs to be hands-on and,
Yeah, yeah,
you
yeah.
know, I need to be face to face with them." How do you explain that to
Yep.
people?
Yeah, it's a great question. So, yeah, you know, I've been involved with the online learning for decades, and you know, I taught at the university about this, and I've done research in this. Research shows that for the learner, one of like the when it's done correctly, the most effective way that they've seen in research to help people in their learning is a combination of online and in person. It's very, very powerful to kind of have that mixture. There are things that you can do with technology and multimedia to help in your learning that you can't do face to face. So, a perfect example is having a video, like doing a video analysis, recording yourself, recording your instructor, watching it, replaying it back, playing it and pausing it. You know, one time you watch it and you look at the dog's behavior. Then you rewind it, then you watch your behavior, then you watch it again and you say, hey, look at your hand and look what you're doing here. Oh, you just held your breath. And then also being able to do it slow motion. You know, I've had dogs in canine fitness. We have dogs. We do a lot of multimedia. It's a very practical, hands-on activities they do with canine fitness through using multimedia and video. And we do a gait analysis. And I remember one of the students had a video of his dog on a treadmill and was trotting on the treadmill, and the dog looked totally fine. The dog, nice trot, trotting along, you know, let's look at the gait. We did it in slow motion. and there was a very obvious limping, a head bobbing. Completely missed it. I didn't even see it in the normal speed. So I love doing things with the video, with the multimedia. Even, we can pull things up on the screen, even with images, and you can go and point things out. A lot of novices and beginners, they don't understand. A lot of times we have to train them in how to observe things, because we'll look at a dog and we're like, ooh, we see right away what's happening and what's going on with the dog by the behavior or the handler's behavior. And a novice, they will be looking at the same activity, but they could be looking at something completely different. They're not even looking at the same thing we're looking at. So when you can go and have that photo or that video and you can freeze frame it, and then you can go and show exactly, this is what I'm looking at. And you see where we notice here. And then having them, watch themselves or watch other people or watch the instructor. And then it can be very revealing when you say, well, what do you see here? And what would you do differently? Can be reveal things that you can't capture that in person on the fly in that live moment. So very, very, very powerful in the use of the video, and also just having the archive to be able to go back. And then also the flexibility, just the ability that, I'm a night owl. So I'll be doing stuff, at midnight, 1 a.m. I'm not a morning person. So if I'm doing something early in the morning, my brain's just not working. So there's also that ability, even if it's not live, somebody can just very quickly do a quick, video comment or a question and send it over, and you can answer in your phone on your convenience and when it's convenient for them. So, everybody nowadays, we're so busy, crazy lifestyle. That flexibility is really, really nice too for the learner and for the instructor. So it is, like I said, a lot of people don't realize it. They think like online is like kind of like the second class version. It's like, if I can't do it in person, then you have a lower level of learning online. But there are actually some things that you can do with multimedia and online. You cannot replicate that level of learning necessarily with just if you're meeting with that client face to face. So it can be very, very powerful.
Such good takeaways there, Erica. As you probably know, most of our audience is just your typical dog owner, the pet one dog family, that sort of thing. And like you said, so much is missed by just looking down at your dog with the leash in your hands,
Yeah.
leash placement and where the collar is sitting and the body posture of the dog and all of that stuff like you mentioned.
Exactly.
And you just don't see that unless you're seeing it on video or whatever. And even as instructors, we're often either paying attention either to the person or the dog or vice versa. So like you said,
Exactly.
it's so much easier to point out, and you can pause and fast forward and all of that with your clients. So with that in mind, and the courses that you offer, most of them are offered to a wide variety of audiences, but I also know that you offer your courses that are available for continuing ed credit and that sort of thing for college
Yeah.
classes. Tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So when we started up the online programs, it just kind of grew. We have an online certification program, and having worked at the university, I knew that there is every university and college that I know, there's always some kind of branch of the university that is like a continuing education, professional development, community. They do programs for the local community and things like that. And so I thought, well, why don't I see, especially when it's online, we can reach so many people, and how can we help reach a bigger audience geographically? I figured, well, let's see if I could connect with some of the universities that might be interested in offering our programs. And one of my students, he's now a graduate in the Elite Canine Athlete Program, he does search and rescue, and he lived in Colorado, and he was very involved in the working dog search and rescue community. And he worked at the university, and they actually had some programs already that had a connection with some of the police dog search and rescue community. So I thought, oh, they already have some of this community there. That might be a great university to see if they would be interested. And so, so we reached out. He introduced me to the people that organize those programs. I told him, I already had a program in place. We already had the certification program in place. And so I just proposed that I still host it. I already have the online platform and everything is already on my platform for our business, but basically to kind of collaborate and offer it through their like continuing studies. And then the program had to be reviewed. They had a committee of like faculty. The person who was head of their department, they had to review the curriculum. We had to submit, the resume of, who teaches, and had to show, this is what the program is. Here's the outcomes. Here's what we're teaching. Here's how we assess it. Here's how many hours it is. And then they have, so many hours of instruction. You get so many credits. And we talked about right now it's for continuing education that credits, and they actually get the certificate from the university. They get the unofficial transcript. You can pay to get official transcripts, but it has the CEUs. And we did talk about the possibility of doing it for credit, like, undergrad or graduate credit. But as a lot of people know, when you're paying for credit-bearing courses, the tuition greatly increases, usually. So if we're doing it for continuing education, it's the price is much more reasonable because we have to build those university fees into the tuition. And so at the time, I was like, for my audience, I was like, are they in a position where like they would be wanting to get those credits, and would it fit into whatever programs, and that it would be a huge jump in tuition. So for now, we're staying with the continuing education. So and our graduates are thrilled with it because you get the university credibility behind it. You get the logo. They have the certificates with both of our logos on it. You get the letter, a really nice letter from the university. So it's been something that's been really beneficial. It helps to provide a service and reach people through the university and their community. And then, of course, as a business owner, it helps us to have a bigger reach. And, and the students love it because, adds credit. We get a lot of dog trainers who do our program. And so they're taking canine fitness to their clients. So they like it from the business aspect and, being able to have that credibility. But it's been super exciting. We just renewed for another 3 years. With Colorado State University Pueblo. And I'm actually getting ready to do an online webinar in a few weeks, talking with other business owners, not just dog people, but I'm talking about the power of partnering up and collaborating with universities, because there's so many different ways that they partner with people in the community and organizations, nonprofits, and businesses.
Yeah, it is an amazing program to be able to offer that to the public. I teach dog mushing up here at the 2 local universities, and for somebody to be able to take that, ours is for college credit, so a little bit different than yours, but for those that, whether they're students, in classroom students, or even older students that come out and pay for a couple of credits to learn how to do dog mushing, it's an amazing thing because it's, it's just one of those things. Before we talk about your programs themselves, you had mentioned that dog trainers were a big part of that course. Who else is able to use those CEUs for their profession? Is it vet techs or what?
Yeah, we do definitely get veterinary technicians. We have veterinarians that have done the programs. We've had some dog groomers do the programs. A lot of veterinary technicians do the programs. And we also get people who are certified in canine and rehabilitation. So, some people think, fitness and rehab is kind of the same thing, but it's different, looking at fitness for the athletes versus a dog rehabbing from injury. So we do get a number of people who maybe are already certified in rehabilitation. We get human doctors. We've had some human doctors and nurses. So, people who have an interest in the fitness and health on the human side that are drawn and attracted to it. It's been a really interesting, diverse range of people that we have do the program. And then, of course, we have just, your pet dog owners that are just really active with their dogs and they want to make sure they're doing things right. So we also get them. And then not everybody is, high level athlete. Not everybody's a professional, but we have from, the active pet dog owner to world champion competitors to, like I said, veterinarians, vet techs, and people on the professional side.
And you are also involved heavily in the people side of fitness, right? You're a fitness instructor as well on the human side.
Yeah, it's been a while since I was teaching a lot on the human side and the human fitness, and then got involved with the dogs, and I enjoy them both, but I think I have a bigger passion working with the dogs. But what I really like is, and I try to encourage, because we do get some human fitness trainers that do our program, and I'm always encouraging people who have the human fitness side, who have an interest in canine fitness, to offer. I keep waiting for somebody to jump on this, is to have the human fitness and the canine fitness and offer the programs together. So you're, a personal trainer, help the human, and then also with the dog, because we see a lot of people, they sign up for the program for the dogs, but then the human gets more fit. We've had some people, when we first started the program, we had one of our students sign up. He signed up for his dog, and he lost like 30 pounds and got in shape and got more active. And it just kind of, people, we know that dog owners, that dogs make us stay more active, more social, they get us out. And so, I don't have enough time to have, 4 different businesses, but that's another area. Like if I had like a duplicate of me, to, have a whole nother business where we're doing the fitness for the human and the dog together. And every time I get a graduate in the program who has the human health and fitness side, I'm just like, all right, come on, let's package this together so we can work with the dog owner and the dog together, and they can exercise together. And like in mushing and dryland mushing, like I love those activities when you're a true partner and you are physically engaging in those activities with your dog, and you're both, being physically active together. I think that's that's the best.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I was going to say. I can envision that real symbiotic relationship, that teamwork that can develop with those high level athletes, whether you're doing protection sports like Schutzhund or French Ring or one of those, or even canicross or bike joring or anything like that. I can just see how both of those athletes could really excel working better together. I'm sure you would agree.
Yeah, most definitely. And I have a Facebook group that I created. It's just a free public group, and it's, get fit and active with your dog. And the idea is, it's not like a real formal, we have like a podcast and things that are a lot of very educational, and that group is it's more motivational. It's like, let's get out and do things with our dogs. Let's, post photos and videos. Let's inspire each other to get out and be more active. And the first time we did a little challenge, I think it was like a 25K challenge. And it was like, you can walk, you can jog, you can run. It's just get out and do stuff with your dog. And some of us were tracking it. And this one lady she ended up getting a fitness tracker and was tracking her activities, and noticed her heart rate was doing some crazy stuff. And she actually realized, she found out she had a problem with her heart, and ended up having surgery, and she's fine now. But she wrote this letter. She was just so emotional. She's like, because of that challenge you did and doing activity with my dog with this challenge in the Facebook group, she said, I wouldn't have found out that I had this heart problem. And thankfully she discovered it, and got it fixed and had surgery, and it could have, ended very badly. And she was just so grateful. She wouldn't have known if she hadn't have done that activity and just had the little tracker on her watch. And, we just tracked our distance, and she could see what her heart rate was doing. And it's super powerful. I find definitely on the health side for the dog and the owner, but also in the bonding, because I've had dogs all my life. I've had pet dogs. And then when I got involved in canicross, where you're actually attached to your dog and you're running with your dog, and you're talking to him in the ears, you can see he's listening, and you're maneuvering together. It's a totally different experience than if you're just out running with a leash and your dog's next to you. I had this one person teasing me. He's like, oh, what canicross? What's canny? Is just a fancy way to say you went running with your dog. And I was like, it's actually it's actually quite different. To me, it was a very different feeling when I'm attached to my dog and we are truly physically in it together and doing those different activities. I really feel like it's a completely different bond that I have with the dogs, and I talk to many others who have been through this too. That bond that you have with the dogs, as you know, with mushing, it's just different when you have those experiences together in that true partnership. And that's I think another very powerful thing when you're doing those types of activities and sports and even if it's just for fun and, hiking together, running together. It's the physical fitness, the mental aspect of it, but it's this amazing bonding thing, kind of activity that you have with your dog. It's a different type of relationship, which I think I love about it.
Yeah, it sounds awesome, and that is the sole reason I wanted to have you on, is just to really showcase what you do, because I think you're in a very interesting niche in our industry. In the dog training world, so many of us are just doing the basics. The basic obedience, sit down, stay calm, that sort of stuff. A few of us branch off into sports and that sort of thing, and really
Yeah.
niche down, but most of us are not doing that. So, from a pet owner's perspective, I know you have several different classes on your website, and we're going to link over to that in the show notes. Can you tell us about one of your classes in particular, and maybe how it's formatted, how long it lasts, what does a typical lesson look like, that sort of thing? Just kind of give people an overview.
Yeah, for like say a more of a pet dog, an active pet dog audience, our entry point is our Canine Peak Performance Program, and it's our foundation, our Canine Conditioning 101, our foundation canine fitness course. For our bigger program for certification, everybody starts with with that course. And it is, we have 5 modules. The first 4 modules, it's approximately 2 hours of video lesson content. So that's about 8 hours. The last module is an introduction to massage. I think massage, kind of combining massage with fitness, just like humans, it's a wonderful thing, a synergy you have together. So the last module is about an hour long. It's an introduction to massage. And what we do in the Canine Peak Performance Program is it starts out with looking at the relationship between structure and performance. So being able to look at your dog in a very different way, to look at kind of their physical conditioning, what's appropriate body weight, and also structurally, what are your dog's strengths and what are the potential physical kind of weaknesses, not meaning injury, but everybody, like my right arm's stronger than my left. There's always some dominant parts. And so, for example, if you have a dog, a breed or a mixed breed that is like longer in the back, so that dog might have a tendency to just be maybe a little bit weaker in that lower back. And so if you're really active with that dog or doing, activities in sports, that's where they carry a lot of that tension and tightness in that lower back. Some dogs, let's say a German Shepherd, a show line German Shepherd that has a lot of angles and very sloping, a lot of that excessive kind of slope in the shoulders and the hindquarters. When you have a lot of that slope, it gives them a really nice, fluid, beautiful reach and stride, but you lose some of the stability. So for those dogs, the hindquarters, it might be, we want to do, they might be stronger in the front, but maybe the hindquarters are the weaker spot in that dog. So in the very beginning, we have a couple lessons on how to look at your own dog and see what are those potential areas, signs of tightness, which parts of their body are their strong points, which are the parts that if your dog is really stressed or, getting older, that might be the weaker points we want to support. And also, what are those very subtle signs of soreness and pain? So every time we get new people going through the program, the dogs frequently are showing us very subtle signs that there's something wrong, but we aren't trained to catch it until they're like either vocalizing in pain or limping in pain. So I can't tell you how many times when people take that very first module in the course, they go and they're like, I will never look at dogs the same way again. and they look and they say, oh my gosh, I think there's something wrong with my dog. I'm noticing he's doing this, or his head, or when he sits, he's consistently doing this, and he's not limping. But they start to see, some people are seeing that their dog is actually showing them there are sometimes a problem, very subtle, but they didn't know what to look for. So the beginning of the program kind of teaches you, before you get your dog out of the car or go do that activity, go swim for the day, how's your dog look? Are they good body condition? Are they showing aches or pains or soreness, or do they look good and fine? And we start with that. And then we look at kind of what makes a balanced fitness program. When we talk about cardiovascular exercise or strength training or flexibility, what does that look like for a dog? What is strength training for a dog? What is flexibility for a dog? So we introduce that. And just like a human fitness program, a human athlete, you have a balanced program. You like, football players, they don't just throw a football 7 days a week. They're in the gym, they have rest days, they stretch, they have massages, they're working in the gym, they're running. So we talk about what does that look like to have a healthy, fit dog, to a well-rounded kind of, program. And then we talk about, there are some lessons on special considerations for puppies and special populations and senior dogs. What are the limitations and what are the things that you should or should not do with a puppy? And then as your dog gets older, what are some things you have to be aware of with physical activity, so you know how to modify over time as your dog is aging? So we have one module with multiple lessons talking about, those special populations, the puppies and the seniors. And then the third module talks a little bit about, now that we know the components of fitness, now we know what some of these, what is a strength exercise, what is a stretching exercise. The third module starts to introduce to program design. So what would a weekly activity look like, and what do you need to be careful of? So some of the biggest things are the weekend warrior, where people aren't doing much with the dogs during the week, and then they go out on a Saturday or a Sunday and it's like all out. And the dogs physically are not prepared for that intense workload. So you essentially have this weekend warrior. During the week, they're just kind of a couch dog hanging out at home. And then they go out and they do like this, super activity on a Saturday. And that puts those dogs at a higher risk for injury. So we talk about what would a weekly program, what do we have to think about a safe and effective weekly program? And if you are planning to go for a 3-day hiking trip, if you are planning to take your dog for a whole day for swimming, if you do want to go and join a club and do a Saturday sport, what does it mean to prepare for that? And when you're ready, when do you know to start pushing your dog? What does it mean to push them too far too soon? Or what does it mean where we're not doing enough to let the body, get stronger? So it's an introduction in just an hour or two. We can't teach everything about program design and know all the ins and outs and, all the exercises and how to, how many reps and how many days per week. But we talk about it from kind of safety, of being aware of, the do's and don'ts to make sure that you're going about it in a way that's going to help your dog. And then we also talk about things, just general health and safety things related to things like signs of overheating, hydration, preventing heat stroke, safe ball play. If you have a dog that's crazy for balls, we always hear about dogs, injuries chasing a ball or suffocating on a ball. So we also talk about things like that. What are activities that are safe activities to do? And then also, what are some of the misconceptions and misbeliefs that, that people have related to some of these areas around canine fitness? So it's a nice introduction to get them into the concept of what is fitness for a dog. What does a weekly program look like? And how, if I want to get more active with my dog, how do I do that safely? And so there's online videos, like lectures, there's demonstrations. Every module has a little activity, like go and learn how to observe your dog, and here's what you look for. And now go observe your dog. Now go and do it. Or here's a stretching exercise. Now go and try this with your dog. So it's online, but it's designed for you to take it and be able to go look at your dog differently, go and try something with your dog. And then it also includes some one-on-one coaching. So normally people will go through a module or two, and then they get a chance to submit some of the photos and videos and activities, and then meet online with a video conference call so that we can go through it and talk about what we see and get feedback on what are they currently doing with their weekly program, what looks good, what needs to change, what are their goals, and they get some one-on-one support for that.
So much there to unpack for sure. I have two other questions, but based on what you just said, you're assuming that they already have the dog, obviously, when they're signing up for your program. And I think a lot of people are miseducated, maybe misinformed about the appropriate dog that they should have for whatever activity that they do. Whether they're buying
Yeah.
a German Shepherd that lives in an apartment, or a sled dog, and they are
Yeah.
wanting to do swimming or whatever. A lot of people buy the wrong dog or get the wrong dog. How can you best educate somebody on that pre-purchase, pre-adoption, whatever, before they get involved in an activity, a sport activity or whatever?
Yeah, that's where that first module we talk about the relationship between like structure and performance. That's where people having some knowledge of, for example, if I have an agility dog and I know the high impact and the wear and tear on, the shoulders and the different body parts that tend to be, feeling a lot of the strain from the activity, is certain dogs that are structurally sound and built in a certain way, they're going to be more efficient in their movements, right? And so if somebody gets a dog that's not, built with good structure for, say a performance type activity, they shouldn't feel bad if they're out there competing and then, all those border collies are beating their dog. It's like, structurally, some dogs are going to have an advantage, right? Just because of how they're built. If you kind of match that structure with the activity, right? Think about sled dogs, dogs that are pulling. There are some breeds like, let's hook up a greyhound to a sled, it's, you're not going to get the same effect if you're hooking up, say a husky to a sled, right? So knowing kind of through the structure and, breed and things like that, some dogs are some of the activities are going to come naturally if it's just kind of more in alignment with what that dog was bred for or how that dog is structured. And then the other thing is what a lot of times people will do is they'll get a dog that necessarily doesn't have that ideal structure for that sport. And so knowing that and knowing how the structure can impact that, then, for example, I'll know that if I have that big, heavy, large boned Akita who is doing agility, I may actually minimize and not do as much high impact jumping with that dog compared to, say, another breed that would be, the physical demand on agility might not be as hard of an impact. And so, making modifications or having that dog that's longer in the back, longer in that lower back, and saying, okay, this dog structurally maybe has that longer back. They don't have as much muscle support around that lower back. And so for that dog, we're gonna be like, okay, we got to really pay attention and let's do a lot of massage, loosen up those muscles in the lower back. Let's do some core strengthening. Really, it's important for all dogs, but then for that dog, it's going to be even more so. So being aware of that. So when they possibly get that dog that isn't necessarily the best match for the activity, they'll know what are certain parts of the body might be undergoing more strain or more stress, so that they can be more in tune when they are training to see, are there subtle signs of soreness, subtle signs of pain, but also knowing, this is a dog that I really better stay on top of my core strength exercises if I want my dog to be able to withstand the demand of the work that they're doing. So, so if they already have the dog, it helps them to be aware of kind of what to pay special attention to. If that dog might not be, say, physically the best structured dog for that activity. And then if they don't have a dog yet, and they know they say, I want to do mushing. I want to do agility. They're really passionate, and it's like, I really want to do that activity. Then they can look at, say, I might not want to get that, that Akita for the agility. And I might not want to get that greyhound if I'm interested in doing the mushing. So definitely, that will, if they know they want to be, active or get involved in a sport or a job with a dog, having that kind of knowledge will also help them, look at what the breed was bred for, look at, kind of the breed traits, but also structurally, thinking about, is this a dog whose body is going to withstand the wear and tear of that sport for, hopefully year upon year. You don't have to retire them early. And is it a sound body, structured and built for withstanding, potentially high impact repetitive performance over and over and over time. And that knowledge definitely can help them in, seeing if they do know they want to do one of those high impact activities, right? Or they want to do an activity involving, weight pull type activities or high impact jumping, right? And that's another thing, the sport that I do in Frenching, the athleticism, the level of jumps, like dogs are jumping over 1.1, 1.2 meters. They're scaling this huge, palisade wall. They have this tremendous long broad jump. And in the entry level, you can have dogs that they're moderately athletic and they can do well. But when you get to the highest level of competition, there's a lot of breeds that they just don't have the athleticism. Like, you're going to see zero to very, very few of some of these breeds showing in those higher levels, because physically they don't have the athleticism to do it or to compete with the dogs that are more athletically built for that activity. So you definitely can see that in some of the sports that are very physically demanding, like some of the heavier, German Shepherds. In my sport, you'll see a lot of Malinois. You'll see a lot of Dutch Shepherds, and you'll see other breeds that will do well sometimes at the lower levels. But some of the dogs, especially in the jumping, the athleticism for the height and the distance, and some of the athletic skills they're needed in the jumping, you're going to start to see a differentiation between, a sport dog that's, fairly athletic versus the one that, really has that body that it's got this tremendous athletic power. And like I said, you might not see it at the lower levels, but when you start getting at the higher levels where it gets a lot more physically demanding, the structure of the dog is definitely can make a big difference in how athletic they are, and being able to do the activities, and also withstanding the body, being able to withstand the wear and tear of that activity over time.
I said it before, such good stuff here, Erica. To leave our audience today, what should be the big takeaway? What should be the aha moment of this episode? What do you want people to leave this time with?
Well, one thing I would say is, dogs are happy when they have something to do. They're happy, getting out, being active, and I think a lot of people don't do enough, that don't do enough to get out and just let their dogs have an active lifestyle, and to get out there and engage and do it and share that experience with your dog. Like, get out, get fit, get active, and have that partnership and do things. And 1 day a week or 2 days a week, you're going to be happier, they're going to be happier, they're going to be healthier, they're going to live longer, to just if you're doing it just for fun or you're doing it for sport, but get out and be active and do things with your dog. And the other one is, I'm an educator at heart, is to educate yourself. If you're going to be doing a sport, if you're going to be doing activities, learn, study, get a mentor. There's so much to learn, and there's so much misinformation. I know right now there's been all kinds of stuff on social media on heat stroke and don't give your dog cold water. That's not true. Like if your dog's overheating, cold water is good. And there's a lot of misinformation out there that could really put dogs in danger, can even put them at risk of great injury, of dying. And so I would just encourage people is to be a lifelong learner. And if you're going to be active and doing a lot with your dogs, if you hike with your dogs, surround yourself with, even if you do it alone, go online and find communities where there are people more educated than you, more experienced, to learn from them. So you don't learn by mistake. And, like my dog, there were things I was doing. I didn't have a nice balanced fitness program. I wasn't cross training. And if I had known more about fitness back then, I know I could have, prevented a number of things from, not getting or catching it earlier. So Canicross, there was nobody. I lived in New Jersey, and when I got involved in Canicross, I didn't know anybody who did it. So I joined a Facebook group, and it was a whole bunch of people over in England, and very experienced people. And I learned from them. I learned from them, proper equipment and proper fit, and where do I go, and finding and seeking people and organizations and clubs where there are some very experienced people, so that you can learn from them. So you're not learning from trial and error and risking injury or risking something more serious. So I would say, get involved, be active, do things with your dog. And if you're not experienced in whatever it is you're doing, hiking, running, agility, is seek out education, seek out mentors, seek out coaches, trainers, so that, do it the best you can. I was going to say do it right. There's never one right way, but educate yourself as much as you can, because you're going to benefit, your dog's going to benefit, you're going to progress more quickly. You'll avoid the potential of injuries, and you'll probably meet some amazing, wonderful people along the way too.
Wow. Erica, what is the best place for people to reach out and connect? Where are you most active?
I'm most active on Facebook. And actually, I'm very active on my personal page. Northeast Canine Conditioning does have a business page, but I always tell people you can message me on my personal account. And I can't friend everybody because I'm already at the max, near max friend list. So if I don't accept your friend request, it's nothing personal. I'm maxed out, and I need my students to be able to get in. But Northeast Canine Conditioning is the letter K, the number 9, not the word. Northeast Canine Conditioning, the Facebook page, and also Erica Boling, my personal page, Boling. And on the Facebook page, on the business page, if you go to videos, I did a lot of Facebook Live videos. I think I have over 300 Facebook Live videos shows. There's tons of free video replays and content on there. So definitely, to interact, and there's always new stuff posting. Also, our website is northeastcanineconditioning.com. And we have a lot of great information on our blog. And we have a podcast, Northeast Canine Conditioning, a podcast. And we have a number of podcasts on there. It was kind of silent for a while, but I'm on a new energy where this year we're going to be cranking out new episodes and podcast shows. So you can, if you're a podcast listener, definitely check out the Northeast Canine Conditioning, our podcast show. And like I said, there's a lot of information out there. I do free webinars at least 2 to 3 times a year. I always do announcements on social media, on Facebook and Instagram. And if you're on our email list, but definitely follow us. And we also have probably a quick and easy way to get on our email list, because when we're doing free webinars, free trainings, when I do announcements for the podcast, if you're on our email list, you'll be notified when there's a new podcast out, when there's a free training out, when enrollment's open. And one of the easiest ways to get on is we have it's called the Canine Fitness Quiz. And it's just the K9, again, the letter 9, Canine Fitness Quiz. And it's a little self-assessment. And we've had people who they feel very confident in their fitness knowledge, and they do it and they're like, wow, there's a lot I can still learn. But it's just a short questionnaire. It's a little self-assessment where you just kind of rank yourself and don't feel bad. It's just kind of a scale of 1 to 10. And we break it down in different categories. So then you'll start to get a sense of maybe what do you currently know about fitness? What are some areas, where are some of the gaps? Where might you want to, spend time learning? But when you fill that out, you'll put your email address and we'll email you a summary of your results. And then you're on our email list. So I would encourage people, if they want to do that and kind of, what's your canine fitness IQ? What do you know about canine fitness? And take that quiz. It's the caninefitnessquiz.com. And like I said, we've got a lot of stuff out there on the if you go to our blog, any of our blogs at the very bottom, you can also sign up for our email list, and we send you a canine fitness planning guide and a free 50-minute video, fitness kind of introduction, fitness training video, whenever you sign up to our email list. So you can catch that on our website too. So we have stuff floating around about everywhere, I think. A lot of places.
Guys, this lady here has all the things, and I encourage anybody that is interested in this to definitely check it out. A lot of resources, and we're going to do our best to share them over on our show page for sure. Dr. Erica Boling calling in from Maine today. It is my pleasure to have you on. I'm glad we're able to connect, and we will stay in touch.
Thank
okay?
you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Bye-bye.
My guest today, this is Robert for DogWorks Radio. We will see you guys next time. Goodbye.
From First Paw Media, this is DogWorks Radio. We hope you enjoyed this podcast, and we invite you to subscribe in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll find a link on the episode notes. You can tap or swipe on the episode cover art, and you'll see some offers from our sponsors. You can support our show by supporting them. If you like what you have heard, we would love it if you could give us a 5-star rating and tell your friends how to subscribe too. Your hosts are Robert and Michelle Forto. Our producer is Robert Forto and created for First Paw Media.